attack now. Can he hang on in the OVO Energy Tour of Britain? Lines up for the sprint. Can he steal this one? 1 kilometre to go now. Is he going to take the stage? Yes, he is.
Hello, welcome to stage 3 of the OVO Energy Tour of Britain. Standing here in the middle of Newcastle upon Tyne on Grey Street, in front of Grey's monument there, under a pretty grey sky, it has to be said. There's a fog on the Tyne as well today, but the riders might welcome a slight drop in the temperature after a tough couple of days under the Scottish sun.
Glorious sunshine greeted the riders as they rolled out of Kelso for stage 2 of the OVO Energy Tour of Britain. At kilometre 0, the jersey wearers tried and failed to break free. Eventually, 3 men, though, did get away, including Gediminas Bogdanas of AG2R Le Mondial, who'd also been an escapee on the first stage. He took the first sprint points at Coldstream, and with it, the red iceberg jersey. Things then quietened down until the second Skoda King of the Mountain at Scott's View, when Frederik Fisson of Lotto Soudal attacked, and he was joined by the man of the moment, Mathieu van der Poel, causing absolute panic in the peloton. They managed to bridge across to the breakaway, but eventually they were all reeled in on the descent into Melrose, and everything came back together. On the final climb, though, at Dingleton, Pavel Sivakov of Team Ineos blew everything apart once again and sent the green jersey flying backwards. He was caught by the bunch, but then, with 3k to go, British rider Alex Dowsett put the hammer down. The time trial specialist from Essex looked like he timed his effort to perfection. It was an agonising watch to see if the Katusha Alpecin man could hold the rest at bay into Kelso. As he crossed the bridge into the beautiful market town, the huge crowds lining the finish were willing him on. But could he do it?
The road bends round to the left. Dowsett needs something. Here comes Trentin. The sprint towards the line. He's on to the cobblestones. He could get caught on the line. He's going to get caught inside of the finish. Matteo Trentin comes through. Trentin takes the stage. Alex Dowsett caught in sight of the finish.
So in the end, it was a second Tour of Britain stage win for the Italian, who also took the green jersey off Groeneweghen's back and now leads the GC as we head across the border into England.
I'm joined here at the finish of stage 3 of this year's tour, once again by former pro Janto Barker. And Janto, in previous years, we don't really see the GC contenders getting involved so early on in the Tour of Britain, but this year, completely different.
Yeah, I think it's right. They have to take the opportunities as they come, whether that's stage 1 or stage 8 or anywhere in between. But also the fact that we've got someone like Mathieu van der Poel who doesn't need asking twice. He's just gagging to get up the road, basically.
Van der Poel, Trentin, they're very much, and Alaphilippe, who won last year, of course, very much the modern all-round riders.
They're so talented, that's the thing. I mean, it's easy to do stuff like they do if you're that good, you know, and not many people in the World Tour even are that good in all types of races. You go, Sagan's another one, but when they are, they seem to be taking the opportunities when they come along, and it's very exciting to watch.
The race starts in Berwick upon Tweed today, longer than yesterday, but slightly less climbing. Have a closer look now.
Stage 3 is the first English stage of this year's OVO Energy Tour of Britain. Having left Berwick upon Tweed, the 3 Skoda King of the Mountains climbs come in quick succession. The peloton then heads towards the Seahouses sprint, dipping inland to visit Alnwick before the final 2 intermediate dashes. Having reached Tynemouth, the course follows the River Tyne into the heart of the city, before a steep climb to the finish in Newcastle's city centre. Berwick upon Tweed is the most northerly town in England and lies just 2.5 miles from the Scottish border. The town also boasts medieval fortifications and the iconic Royal Border Bridge built by Robert Stevenson. Located on the Tyne River, Newcastle is connected to Gateshead by 7 unique bridges, including the most recent addition, the Millennium Bridge. Dating all the way back to Roman times, the city has a rich and varied history.
Janto and I have been joined in Newcastle now by another pro, Russ Downing, 41, still racing Russ, and a veteran of 9 Tours of Britain. Janto did 6, I've done 5 in the car, still pretty difficult. Russ, just a quick word about today's stage, and especially this steep finish up Grey Street in the middle of town.
Yeah, hopefully the rain holds off, because yeah, we're on cobbles, pedestrian bricks here, so that's gonna be sketchy on an uphill running. But yeah, it's quite steep, the first bit. I think under the bridge there, 600 metres to go. It's pretty steep.
It's the kind of finish that your mate, the national champion Ben Swift, could fancy. And let's just talk a little bit now about training and what the riders do, because they all do it slightly differently. Swifty in particular, you've been training with him. You think he's lost a little bit of weight. He's up for more of the climbing. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
I think he said in one of his Instagrams he's just not quite quick enough in the sprints. He wants it to be a little bit harder, and he's been putting in some really good work over the last 2 or 3 years, really, on working on his weight, working on doing a lot more climbing than what we can even get in Yorkshire. So he's been spending a lot of time in Mallorca, and he's been really working on his climbing.
Let's not forget that Ben has been on the podium at Milan-San Remo. That's a very difficult, long, classic race. Janto, let's have a look at Pete Williams next, because Pete was almost going to retire last year, and now he's back racing for Swift Carbon. But he only trains about 8 hours a week, which is about the same amount of riding that I do, and I'm just an amateur.
I know. I think it shows that talent, and Pete's been a very good and quality professional in the UK for a long time. He's won multiple jerseys here at the Tour of Britain in past years. I was in the team with him when we did that together, and he's a really talented guy. So between 8 and 10 hours, I think he did a little bit more in a couple of weeks before this race, but actually he's doing very limited training and just focusing on being effective.
One more rider, another British rider as well, who we've certainly seen an improvement in form with, is Alex Dowsett. Now, Alex grew up, trained a long time in Essex. More recently, though, he's moved to live in Andorra, and he's mentioned that being above 2,000 metres at altitude has really helped him.
I mean, Alex is doing a classic thing, which is breaking down the components of what's making either his rivals or him successful, and then focusing on doing more of that if someone's doing it better than him. And that is basically the root of why he chose to move to altitude. It's something you've got to do. You've got to be analytical, and you've got to break down how this performance is made up and what it's made up from, and make sure you put yourself in the best position to achieve the results that you want to achieve.
Training is nothing without nutrition. I know, Russ, for example, you went vegan recently, and you've really noticed the benefit and still extending your career. So all sorts of things to think about if you're a keen amateur, perhaps changing your training, changing what you're eating as well. Certainly food for thought there. Okay, let's have a listen now to some of the riders who are still competing in today's Tour of Britain.
Yeah, there's some good stages coming up. Today is probably good for me. Pretty flat, and then a nice little kick up to the finish. So I'll give that a good crack. Hopefully, I'd like to target the win, but I'll be happy with the podium as well. So that'll be a good start. And then, well, I think the lads are looking at KOM and the sprints jersey, and then a couple of lads are looking at overall ambitions, which will probably be decided in the time trial. So we're just going to get stuck in every chance we get and see what we can come out with.
I'm proud of my team because yesterday was fantastic, and I'm very disappointed to lose the race. So today I want to win for them. I think today is the best stage for me.
Today, I need a little bit of recovery because tomorrow is really hard stage, and just try to, how it's possible, better recovery today.
But happy to have the red jersey on your shoulders.
Of course, it's really nice when I have some jersey, and it's more supporting, it's really cool.
Janto and I cycled down here to Newcastle from Kelso yesterday. It's fair to say it can get very windy in this part of the world. Russ, is that going to be a factor for the peloton today?
I think the wind has picked up a little bit, and like I say, the weather conditions, if it is raining, blowy when it goes down to the coast, people get a sniff that the wind's going, and they can put it in the gutter, and there can be some damage caused for sure.
I'd like to see some echelons on the coast as they leave Berwick upon Tweed. That would be good. Janto, going to put you on the spot. You've called it pretty well so far this year. Who's going to win today?
I feel like it's difficult to overlook Van der Poel, but I think Trentin and Swifty are going to be very close behind.
Yeah, they've all been testing their legs the past couple of days. Okay, that's it from us. Let's hand you over to your commentary team of Rob Hales and Marty McDonald.
Thanks, Mac. 183.2 kilometres awaits the riders today from here in Marygate in Berwick on Tweed, heading to Grey Street in Newcastle. We are off and racing. And you can see the riders suited up against the cold this morning. A little bit of rain, about 11 to 14 degrees Celsius today. Rain, but for most of the day as well. Looking at the weather forecast and the wind maps, they could potentially have a tailwind for most of the day. Rob, we're into England and it's raining.
Well, there we go. C'est la vie. This isn't what we were hoping for. The weather's been absolutely superb up to this point, and the countryside that we will be seeing, we skirt down on the east coast, and it is absolutely beautiful countryside. There are 3 climbs. They all come inside the first 50 kilometres, and then they head out towards the coast. But we could very well see an early break going, I would imagine. I don't know how much they'll want to race the early part, not the peloton in its entirety.
So heading out of Berwick-upon-Tweed, the northernmost town in England. We're on the neutralised section. Great crowds, great to see everyone coming out to enjoy the Tour of Britain. We're going to take a short break, back soon.
Welcome back to the first English stage of this year's race. Once the flag dropped, 8 riders looked like they'd broken clear, only to be caught by the peloton. Then half a dozen did escape, including Jacob Scott in his Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. It looked like things had settled down, only for a couple of lone stars to then try to bridge across. The green jersey then caught up with them and told them the break had been decided and they should return to the ranks. At Ford Commons, Scott added points to his tally by winning the climb, and as we rejoin the race, they're approaching the second KOM at Westwood Bank. So, back to Rob and Marty.
Now the sprint starts. Jacob Scott starts to line it up. Nopper is the first man to make his move, though. Christopher Nopper and Jake Scott's got some work to do here. He's on the wheel of Nopper. So the Sport Vlaanderen Baloise man takes first over there. So it's Nopper from Scott, from De Bont, and Tanfield leads the rest of the group across the summit there. So Christopher Nopper. Here you can see, again, for the Sport Vlaanderen Baloise team, they when they're in here, knowing what Hans de Klerk is like, we've not really seen an awful lot of them so far in this race, Sport Vlaanderen Baloise. As a team, we'll always expect to see them up there in the breakaways. They're always fighting it out, and they're another development team as well, even though they sit on the second division of cycling. Yeah, and there's a number of them, and the difference is, I think, the fact that they're here, they're away from their own nation. For the domestic squads, there is so much more, I think, to gain from being here. But it's definitely a squad that we see in a number of races throughout the year, and yeah, they're crucial, aren't they? So important to the level at the top level. These more of a feeder team, and you often have the older riders with the more experience in there. Confirmation of King of the Mountains 2. Christopher Nopper takes 4. Jake Scott, Dries de Bont, and Harry Tanfield all scoring points. Third King of the Mountains point of the day, 136 kilometres to go, will be the summit. It's Liam Hill here, and it's a category 2, 2 kilometres in length, average gradient of 7.6%. It's got maximum gradients of 10%. Scott and Nopper, it's points apiece there, 4 points apiece at the tops of the climbs there. This one, category 2, 6 points for first, down to 1 point for 6th. So Jacob Scott now on the front. Wants to lead this one out, wants to make sure that Nopper and De Bont don't try and steal this one from him. De Bont moves up there for Corendon Circus, the red and whites. Rob Scott's up onto the wheel of Jacob Scott. Nopper is there, 142. Harry Tanfield now comes up towards the front. He's going to lead this one out, Harry Tanfield. He's been spinning that gear nicely on the back. He's going to lead this sprint out. Jacob Scott gets up into the slipstream of Dries de Bont now. Harry Tanfield looking to try and make a bit of an effort now on the front of this one. This road just rocking and rolling here up towards the summit. The car's in the way. Don't know what the car is doing here on the at the head of the race. That could have been a dodgy one. Just got caught, didn't it? Caught off guard there. The acceleration from the riders behind. The car there in the way of the riders. We'll see how that was when they crossed the line there, and they were rocking and rolling that road up towards the summit. There's confirmation of your King of the Mountains at the top of Lyme Hill. So Jacob Scott taking 6, Dries de Bont 5, and Harry Tanfield taking 4 in that competition. 1 kilometre to go to the Iceberg Sprint. The first one of the day here in Sea Houses. 3, 2 and 1 points. 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds. Rory Townsend has got rid of the gilet and the knee warmers. He's ready to fight it out for the red jersey here on stage 3 going into today. He was second in the competition, so if he wins this sprint, that will put him back level with Gediminas Bagdonas, who managed to take that jersey off his shoulders yesterday. Dries de Bont, though, the man in 3rd place here, and you can just see him lining up for the sprint as well. He is 3rd in this competition with 5 points. So again, I don't think Rory Townsend is going to have it his own way here.
No, I don't think so. It's going to be quite a big battle here. First to the fish and chip shops here in Sea Houses, and there are several very good ones, I have to say.
Rob Scott leading out, speaking from experience there, Rob Hales.
A little bit too much experience, I think, where the fish and chips are involved.
I didn't want to say anything. Harry Tanfield, second wheel. Rory Townsend, Dries de Bont, Jacob Scott on the back here, looking at Christopher Nopper, having a glance around. So Tanfield's going to keep the pressure on here. So that, again, they've got to keep this tempo nice and high so that they don't lose too much of their advantage as they recollect after the sprint. Nopper here now. Harry Tanfield lines it up. Rory Townsend, though, he's going to put the gas on here. Harry Tanfield swings off the front. De Bont and Nopper are right with Rory Townsend. He's got to be careful that he doesn't go too early in these sprints. Rory Townsend, though, challenged on the line, and he did. Dries de Bont comes over the top of him and takes those maximum points on that sprint.
As they approach the roundabout after that sprint, superb pound shop on the left, and straight across on this roundabout right now, and few technicalities as they go through Sea Houses past Lewis's.
You saw Rory on the radio there, straight back to his director telling him he got second, and he'll be working out the points now, and then he'll come back to Rory with the information on where he's at.
Dries de Bont just getting rid of some extra clothing as well. You can see the rain that we had at the beginning, it's starting to clear. So again, you just start to heat up a little bit. But a chat going on here between Affini and Jack Bauer. With Luke Durbridge up there. Durbridge was the man that had gone back to get the bottles and feed everyone. Mark Renshaw as well. Just grabbing, I think, probably the gilet there of Mark Cavendish. Alex Dowsett moving up as well here for Katusha Alpecin. Chimolite is in that light blue Setterfield jerseys right with Matteo Trentin. The peloton are 1 kilometre from the Sea Houses sprint. Our breakaway group are through there, and we really have a battle in that jersey competition. Matt Holmes up here for Madison Genesis with his teammates. Jacob Scott constantly talking to the riders throughout this group here. Here's the replay of the sprint. So Rory Townsend in the blue of Canyon DHB went long in this sprint, off the lead out there of Harry Tanfield. Dries de Bont, though, right on the wheel. Nopper decided it was time there to sit up, but Dries de Bont coming through, taking maximum points in this one. These two riders sitting 2nd and 3rd in that Iceberg Sprints classification. 9 points for Rory Townsend. That puts him up to 11. De Bont, though, that puts him up to 8. With 2 more intermediate sprints to go. They will be hoping that they can get through Warkworth with 77.6 to go, and then we're hoping to make it to Seaton Delaval with 28 kilometres to go. Everything looking at the pattern of this, it all points to them staying away. There's confirmation of the Sea Houses sprint. So De Bont takes 3, Townsend takes 2, and Nopper takes 1. We're going to take a short break, back soon. Into our next intermediate sprint of the day in Wartworth. Rory Townsend and Dries de Bont battling it out for the first one of the day. They can see it in the distance. So 3, 2, and 1 points. These are what the guys here are searching for. And now the sprint. Harry Tanfield on the front. Rob Scott right on the wheel. Now they open up for the sprint. Dries de Bont. Rory Townsend trying to get up here as well. De Bont's got the front. Nopper is challenging as well. They swing left. They're looking for the front. Rory Townsend will be hoping that De Bont's gone too early, and he hasn't. Dries de Bont takes that. So again, it's the same order across the line. So De Bont of Corridon Circus takes that one from Rory Townsend. And Christoph Nopper. He's got a battle on his hands here.
He has just got caught out there a little bit. More in the timing, I think, than anything. With Wartworth there, as you turned onto it, you could see it just went uphill slightly. And it was all about the position. Obviously, the power delivered, but timing crucial.
It is indeed. There's your man today for the sprints. He's got one more to go with 28 kilometres to go at Seaton Delaval. So they're through Wartworth. So they've gone through past the... he's now clipped off the front here. Harry Tanfield is just recollecting the rest of the breakaway group. Dries de Bont will be brought back into the fold. Jack Bauer, just the rider that's controlling things on the front. You see him shifting through the gears. So keeping the tempo up here. As we said, a former stage winner as well. Took a really strong stage win. He won his stage into Bath. And that was a return victory for Jack Bauer after I think a broken leg when he came back from that one. So I'm sure Tour of Britain has a bit of a special place in his heart.
Yeah, and it's well, Tour of Britain's where he came, rode for Endura, came across from New Zealand and started his career in Europe on these very shores.
Sprint 2 in Wartworth. Dries de Bont, Rory Townsend, Christoph Nopper were the order across the line. So 3, 2, and 1 points and seconds.
Then, some 60 kilometres shy of the finish in Newcastle, the race had to be neutralised. Bit of a shock for the peloton because it was stopped at a level crossing, and so everyone was stopped by the commissaires. Once all the riders had been brought back together, the 6 men who'd originally got away up the road were allowed to resume and re-establish their 3-minute 45-second advantage, before the main peloton was then allowed to start its chase. The race was now most definitely on, with the last sprint at Seaton Delaval and also the steep finish in Newcastle still to come. So back to Rob and Marty with everything now in the balance.
30 kilometres to go, heading towards Newcastle. 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Our breakaway group are holding. We have 1 intermediate sprint to go. 1 kilometre out now from the sprint in Seaton Delaval, just outside the big hall there. Sprint 3 of the day. Rory Townsend and Dries de Bont have been battling it out for this one. Jacob Scott comes through towards the front. What they've got to be aware of as well, this breakaway group, is that they don't sprint it out, interrupt the movement of the break too much, and then allow the peloton to take 20 seconds out of them.
That's one of the big questions about them, is that they've got to commit to this all the way to the finish line. And if they disrupt their own rhythm, these guys here, as we see, Lotto Soudal on the front now with the Israeli Cycling Academy, and then Mitchelton Scott all in the wheels, they're not going to be disrupted. Their plan, their view is to the finish line, or to the bottom of the climb to the finish line, and then allow the sprinters to do what they're doing. These guys, they do have different motivations within the group.
They have this swinging left and right here. Rory Townsend on the front here, the new leader in this competition again. He took the jersey on day 1. Dries de Bont is locked in and ready on the wheel, as is Rob Scott. They're going to see that line ahead of them now, so they're going to keep this pressure on. Are they going to sprint it out? So Rory Townsend takes the sprint there, takes maximum points ahead of Dries de Bont. So de Bont deciding that he's going to forgo the sprint there and keep the momentum in the group. So sensible riding there from De Bont.
I'm wondering if they had just a little bit of a discussion. It certainly looked like they were having a bit of a chat, and I think they're just sharing it out because and they've done the right thing there, and just kind of swapping the positions there, keeping it more of an even keel, because they've got the bigger objective, haven't they? And it's the potential for a stage win, and they know what's at stake. So I think they did the right thing.
They are indeed, just swinging left there, and again coming through Seaton Delaval, heading towards that sprint point for the peloton. We're going to bid farewell to Russ Downing. He's got some other work to do. Thanks for all your insight today, Russ. We'll see if your tip for the day, Ben Swift, can take the stage for you.
The breakaway might stay away yet. We don't know, do we?
Yeah, we never know. So thanks to Russ. I'm sure he will be back with us tomorrow. We're going to swing right here towards Whitley Bay on our run now down towards Newcastle. Harry Tanfield, you can see now the power of the Katusha Alpecin man on the front. 2 minutes and 8 seconds is the time gap as they head through here. The peloton won't be far now from the sprint point, the final one of the day. All the fans along the side. It's a great ride. There's a bike path that runs as well from Blythe down towards Whitley Bay. So this is heading down through Seaton Sluice towards that area as well. Seaton Delaval, there's your sprint. Rory Townsend, Dries De Bont, and Rob Scott crossing the line there to take that 1 point. So the peloton all lined out here. They're going past Seaton Delaval Hall, and this occupies the site of the Norman settlement. Its original Norman chapel remains in use today. The peloton through that iceberg sprint point. A great shot of that. 2:07. There's Seaton Sluice primary. Big shout out to my nephew Bo, who's out there. They've walked down to watch that. Seaton Sluice's first school along the side there. Recognisable in their purple. 25.8 to go. Do you think this can stay away? They're holding a good gap here. What would you say they need at this point?
They need this, I think, and some. The big question mark is how they ride in towards the finish. If they can ride and continue as they are, then it's certainly looking in the balance for them. But the issue that they have got is if they do start to play cat and mouse, it will have a dramatic impact on the outcome of this group and how they can stay out in front. Because riders, there are teams and riders on the front of the peloton. There's no questions asked of them. They will ride all the way into the finish, full gas, to try and bring it back. But once the front riders start to think, well, hold on a minute, it's a big question here. I have got with 25k to go, and they will be starting to ask that already.
Harry Tanfield drops to the back of the group, gets onto the wheel now of Rob Scott. This is the breakaway of the day, and you can see the pressure down the back of the peloton here, Rob. There's a few riders, I think, that it's after that stop that we had for the level crossing. This pressure might be there might be a few riders that might just sort of knock it on the head for the day and ride into Newcastle.
Well, they'll be on the back, they'll be stuck on the back, and they certainly won't be looking to move up. But if they can hang in the wheels and stay in the safety of the peloton, they will as long as they can. But yeah, it's difficult for them at the back as they start to get tired, they get worn out, but none more so than these six up front. Been out there a long time now.
St Mary's Lighthouse here, built in 1898. It was operational up until about 1984. Many of those along the coast here as we head down towards Whitley Bay and then Tynemouth, North Shields before we hit Newcastle.
Today is stage 3 of the Tour of Britain. We're in Newcastle next to the Tyne. This is the beginning of the last kilometre and I'm going to show you how it looks. There is a very, very fast run down into the last kilometre and the guys I think are going to be doing close to 70, 75 k's an hour, maybe 50 miles an hour. As we get down to the river at the lowest point, all the main sprinters are going to be jostling for position to get dropped off at just the right point under the bridge, and then we start to pick up this right-hander into the last 500 meters. Round this corner we come onto some light paving stones, and then it really does start to kick up as we hit the main portion of this finish climb. As we come off the paving stones onto the main road, the gradient kicks up to its steepest point. Still big ring, but clearly it's going to make us sting in the legs. Just after 200 meters to go, there's a clear gradient change to about 3 or 4%. And the rider's going to get very fixated on the gantry and the line. They're going to have to get the effort timed just right. From the bottom to the top, it's about a 50-second effort. That is a long sprint, much longer than usual. That is a hard sprint. The last kilometre is actually pretty flat until you get to 500 meters to go. Then it kicks up right, very steep, and then levels off slightly. It's a long, hard sprint, and it's going to be a real squeeze to the line for whoever wants to win this stage.
Bowman now swings off the front. Bauer comes through again for Mitchelton Scott.
No turns can be missed in that breakaway group either. You can see they're all fully committed still at this point. No one is missing any turns at all in this one. We are heading towards Newcastle, and this part of the world, we've hosted stage finishes on occasions. Alessandro Patacchi and Kai Ruiz, both stage winners into Newcastle. Tanfield, Townsend, De Bont, Nopper. Those are still the 6 riders at the lead with Jacob Scott and Rob Scott. Townsend on the back. This would be a dream as well for the Canyon DHB rider from Ireland. They could hang on, take a stage victory. That would potentially cement a place. You would think you'd be up there for a place in the World Championship team to try and help the Irish team in that one. Lotto stood out, still really committed to this one. Look at the effort on the face of these riders. 6K to go, just 42 seconds. Harry Tanfield from Katusha Alpecin. This was the plan for Harry Tanfield. He was talking to all of the riders throughout this stage in the breakaway to motivate them to keep going for as long as possible, and then they were going to up the pace. With that 30K to go, they had that unscheduled stop for the level crossing, but once that went off and they were off and racing, it really was a battle then as the breakaway tried to extend that advantage. Look at the effort on the face of Affini behind. Here come Team Sunweb in the red as well. Case Bolt, potential rider that they could look out for in this one. Corendon Circus, you've been seeing that jersey all day in the breakaway group. Van der Poel, everyone talking up Van der Poel on this finish. It's absolutely perfect for the Dutchman from Corendon Circus. 5.4 to go, 36 seconds. It's still possible for the breakaway. It's still touch and go for the catch.
Well, they're gradually running out of riders now on the front of the peloton, so it's about which teams want to take it up. We can see Sunweb there, EF Education, all starting to mass up towards the front, but it's still the usual suspects actually on the front chasing this down.
5 kilometers to go. The breakaway still holding 32 seconds. It's a slender advantage, but it's still possible. The fatigue you can see creeping in. Jacob Scott, the shoulders are rocking and rolling on the back there, but there's the group behind. Lotto stood out, Jumbo Visma and Mitchelton Scott very much to the front of this one. Corendon Circus, again, they've got their man up there in the breakaway. If it comes back, it's all about Van der Poel for the stage. Niels Pollitt, we can see for Katusha Alpecin. It's getting very physical in there as well, isn't it?
It really is tight at the top, isn't it? But you can just see the as they just pinch, a little bit of a pinch point as they start to go through some of the road furniture. But Corendon Circus looking good up alongside race leader Matteo Trenti. Just looks over his shoulder to see who's coming up alongside him, where the teammates are. One thing's for sure, there are riders starting to miss out now in terms of their lead out. Matteo Trentin, he still has a couple of riders there, but what can they do? What can they deliver? Jumbo-Visma starting to miss out as well on one or two riders.
Dylan Groenewegen in the centre, Mike Turnison right on the wheel. You can see there the riders wearing 71, and that's the Jumbo-Visma numbers on there, and those yellow jerseys. So Dylan Groenewegen and Mike Turnison are there. Mark Cavendish is as well. 4 kilometres to go, 21 seconds. They need a big turn from Luke Durbridge, I think, on the front from Mitchelton Scott if they're going to pull this one back.
That gradient is going to play a massive part, I think, if your legs start to go, as it will be for any of the riders here. There you can see the visual distance gain at the moment from the heli shot. Still the 6 riders together, still working well, and they have to. Jos van Emden now. Well, what a powerhouse he is for Jumbo-Visma on the front, and he will start to stretch things out. The GB squad starting to move up with riders as well.
Connor Swift getting brought up towards the front. 2 big time trial engines. Jos van Emden and Luke Durbridge are the riders that potentially could spell the end of our breakaway group. Gutsy ride by them, though. You can see the peloton all swelling around their sprinters here. The Great Britain national team up towards the front. Watch out for that number 91 of Connor Swift. He's very much to the front here. 3.2 to go, just 16 seconds. We're going to weave our way along the side of the river. They get a bit of a descent here, and then they turn into Grey Street and the run up towards the finish. And it's got a real sting, a real kick as this one. Mathieu van der Poel, he's got 2 teammates in front of him. Here come Canyon DHB trying to bring Bostock up towards the front. Chimolai, you can see there in the light blue jersey, getting brought through towards the front for Israel Cycling Academy. Dimension Data also up there. Katusha Alpecin, Niels Pollitt, and Matteo Trentin has decided that he wants to get onto the wheel of Niels Pollitt.
Big rush on the left-hand side now, and it's a little bit of a washing machine effect as riders just starting to try and get themselves organised. Those lead-outs starting to get organised as Tanfield swings off the front. Another big turn. How much has he got left? But they're still riding efficiently.
And again, as those lead-outs behind, as the sprinters teams start to collect their sprinters, that again, it helps the breakaway just a touch. We're inside 2 kilometers to go. You can see that they're trying to make the bikes as light as possible, this breakaway group. They want to get into this final corner and then try and battle it out up Grey Street. The sprint behind, though, is starting to take effect. Dries de Bont moves up towards this one. Rob Scott on the front here for Wiggins Lacol. Christophe Nopper drops to the back of the group. It's just 8 seconds. I think it's going to make the catch just as we get into the bottom of Grey Street.
Yep, it's on this gradient. I think that things are going to happen. And there you are. They're well within sight now. The motorbike gets sent out of that gap. And that has got to be so demoralising. When you've done all that work, you get so close and you see that chasing peloton coming from behind.
Agonisingly close for the breakaway group. The catch is almost made, and it's the big power of the Great Britain national team. The catch is made. It's all over for the breakaway. And you can see there the power down now. It's the Great Britain riders. What a day, what a battle for our breakaway, but it is all over. It's going to come down to a group sprint now up Grey Street. It's a grippy climb. Connor Swift has been brought very much to the front of this one. 1 kilometre to go now. The jersey of Matteo Trentin is poised and ready to try and take his 2nd victory in as many days.
Well, you can see the riders fracturing off the back of the peloton. They're not going to get involved in this, but it's all about the fight and the battle up on the front.
And now we turn right and the road, the technical run here up towards the line. They drop down through the buildings. And on the front, Armand Grøndal Jansen is up there. Trentin absolutely perfectly placed now. Big move. You can see the road starting to rise. It's really going to kick up Chimolai. Van der Poel is there. Groendahl Janssen. Here goes Dylan Groenewegen as well. Groenewegen fancies his chances. Chimolai is there. Mathieu Van der Poel starting to move up. 200 metres to go. Dylan Groenewegen has got the front. Groenewegen is riding away. Is he going to take this one? Van der Poel kicks to try and come back, but Dylan Groenewegen, you would say against the odds, Dylan Groenewegen takes the stage victory, and Mike Turnison, his teammate, comes up alongside him, and you can see the frustration there by Luke Durbridge and the Mitchelton Scott riders. What a sprint there by Dylan Groenewegen.
Well, that wasn't your standard sprint finish, was it? The battle, the fight for it wasn't a standard lead out either, but they rode superbly well.
So Dylan Groenewegen takes his second stage win up the steep hill into Newcastle, with Mathieu Van der Poel second and Davide Chimolai in third. An incredible effort by the Dutchman to take the podium on Grey Street. Matteo Trentin retains the OVO Energy green jersey by just 7 seconds from Davide Chimolai, with Mathieu Van der Poel moving up into third.
Our goal was coming here and winning stages, and as I said yesterday in this tour, if you win stages and you're always there, the GC comes along. So yeah, we keep going with this mentality, and tomorrow is going to be super hard. So it's going to be really hard to control, and we need to be attentive and pick the right moment also to keep the jersey.
With local hero Steve Cram on hand to present the Italian with the jersey. Rory Townsend is back in the Iceberg Red Sprints jersey, having been in the break all day. Whilst Jacob Scott stays in the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. And another escapee, Harry Tanfield, collected the Combativity Award for his efforts out on the road. With our race leader still in the Setterfield Blue Points jersey.
Well, it was looking like a fairly routine day's racing with the breakaway getting up the road until that level crossing came down and pretty much changed everything. Harry, you were in the break when it stopped, you were in the break when it resumed. How hard was it today trying to stay away from a pretty motivated peloton?
Yeah. I mean, we thought it was pretty much nailed on bunch sprint. Headwind all day, big roads. You know, you're stupid to go in the breakaway, but thought, well, there was a group going and I just rolled off the front, and I thought, oh, well, why not? I'll have a dabble.
I don't think it's stupid to go in the breakaway. Well, the others are thinking when you're there, you're a big diesel engine, you can really power it, doing double the turns. Then actually, we were all thinking, well, this has got a chance. It was only 1.3 Ks out that you finally got caught.
Yeah, it was just down by the quayside as we went under the Tyne, under the bridge. I should have launched one up that climb. The bunch just came so fast. You know, I can only pull so hard, and there was, you know, the other guys, everyone was committed 100%, but everyone was full in for the final, and it just didn't quite work out. But yeah, I should have launched one at with maybe 2K to go.
With the level crossing, the bunch will always think it was easier for you after the level crossing because you had a break. But do you think it was easier for you after the level crossing?
It wasn't too bad, really. I mean, we had 2 level crossings anyway, but the first one was all right. Got some food, got some bottles, and we just kept spinning the legs. We were just riding up and down the road and stuff, so it was, you know, we didn't stiffen up and stuff, and then it was just 60-kilometre time trial straight after that. So, yeah, good fun.
Hard day's racing today, probably even harder tomorrow, possibly the Queen stage of this year's Tour as they tackle almost 3,000 metres of climbing. Let's have a look.
The peloton heads towards the first iceberg sprint at Wickham and onto the first climb of the day at Snod's Edge. The riders then cross the North Pennines with the ascent of the Cat 1 Bollyhope Common. On a day of almost 3,000 metres of climbing, the final Skoda King of the Mountain points can be found on the Cat 3 ascent of Gawthorpe. That's not the end of the climbing though, with a finish in Kendal of the 11% climb of Beast Banks.
Really great racing today. Now, look, you may not be aware, but Harry sadly lost his mum last week. Claire passed away. We know you very well. We know Charlie, your brother, as well, and the whole family. I think anyone would be surprised that you're here racing under the circumstances, but you felt you had to.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it was on my programme the whole time, and yeah, it doesn't change anything. There's nothing anyone could have done. But I think it just helps as a distraction for my family and everyone else that's been through it all. It gives them something to focus on this week instead of the funeral, which is on Monday. So, yeah.
No doubt, she was always proud of you and your brother for the racing you've done, and the whole family as well, and I'm sure proud of you now as well.
Thanks, Mark.
Brilliant racing today. Always great to see you, Harry. Really good racing. Now that's just about it from us. We'll be back live with coverage tomorrow morning of Stage 4 on ITV4. Do join us then. Bye-bye.